Hello, my name is Bill Plympton, and I'll be talking to Rabbi Sol Solomon on Days Gone By here at UNC Radio.
Shalom, shalom, my friends and my enemies too. Welcome here to the Daverhood. This is Rabbi Sol Solomon. Very excited, very animated this morning, you might say, because I'm talking to one of the great, brilliant, legendary animators of our time. He is a two-time Academy Award nominee. He won a Grand Prix Award at Cannes. I know I'm mispronouncing that. I just like saying the word Prix. And he has been called a blend of René Magritte and R. Crumb, if you can picture that. And you probably have pictured that if you've seen his short films, The Face or Guard Dog, or some of his longer movies like I Married a Strange Person or Idiots and Angels, and his seventh feature film, his latest that came out about a year ago, Cheatin, which the LA Times called one of his best long-form tunes, an energetic romp less dependent on grotesquerie than usual, which is not to say that quality is absent, and with distinctive freewheeling visual imagination on giddy display. Well, I am giddy to display with us on the telephone this morning, the one, the only, Bill Plympton. Shalom, Mr. Bill.
Wow, that was some introduction. I should have taped that. That's fantastic. Thank you. Good to see you. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very happy to talk to you. And you don't have to tape us because we record it and then it's in perpetuity anyway. But so you must be really, really hard at work and busy today. What are you working on right this week, right this second?
Well, I'm promoting the film Cheatin, my brand new feature film, and it actually opens up. The screening we had in L.A. that you mentioned was for the Oscar qualification rather. It actually opens up in the U.S. here in New York on April 3rd. And then I am coming to Denver. I don't know how far you are from Denver.
We're about an hour and change. A little bit of change.
On Wednesday, April 22nd, I'll be in Denver premiering the film there. So tell all your fans and all your listeners to come and say hello to me, and I will give them a free Bill Plympton drawing if they come to the Denver show.
Oh, that's so... Wow, that is so nice of you. I mean, that's going to be like almost an animation cell in a few... I mean, you'll have to die first for that to be worth anything. But eventually...
No. You know, these are very collectible. These are very collectible. You can probably sell it at a comic convention the next day for thousands of dollars.
And then, wow. And that appeals to my Jewish nature, I must tell you. But, I'm kidding. So, so many questions to ask you about your movies and your thoughts. Well, one thing, do you still really rely only, at least not maybe when you're doing commercials, but when you're doing your own stuff, on hand drawing rather than using a computer for anything like backdrops or whatever?
Yeah, I've never used a computer for the drawing part of the process. For Cheatin, I did every drawing myself, 40,000 drawings, took about a year. But for the coloring, we do have a staff of colorists here who use computers, simply because we don't use a big rostrum camera anymore with a 35-millimeter camera with film, where it's all digital. We just scan the drawings on the computer, and it's so much easier to color them here.
But it's still physical hand coloring we're talking?
No, it's computer coloring.
It is computer coloring.
I think Photoshop or After Effects. Wendy, what program we use for color? Photoshop, yeah, it's all Photoshop.
Oh my God! Because that's when you said you did the whole movie, the 40,000 frames yourself. I was like, well, you know, I've seen a documentary or a bit of it about you, and there's 10 people in the room with you, so you have a staff.
Yeah, they do the coloring. They color the film. It's a very slow, laborious process.
But do you think your films would suffer by doing more computerized stuff? I mean, if it's the same storyboards and the same plot and script, as it were, and ideas, would it seem like breaking some sort of religious oath by trying to do it on computer?
Absolutely, yeah. I have sworn off computers for the rest of my life. I will always continue to do hand drawing artwork. You know, I like Pixar films. I like How to Train Your Dragon. It's a great film, but they all look the same. They're all the same kind of characters, the same kind of look, the same kind of coloring, and I want to do something different. I want to do something unique. I want to show the people something they've never seen before. And Cheatin is that kind of film. It's not about kid stories. It's about adult ideas, about a couple who fall in love and then they become jealous of each other and then they try to kill each other. And it's definitely not a Walt Disney film. In fact, we say that Walt Disney would roll over in his freezer if he saw it.
Well, I will say, I've seen a bit of the film, and for people who are on the fence, if they want to see it, they don't want to see it, there is brief female tushy nudity in the film, and stooping. So pony up your bucks and go see it in Denver or where else, or at some point it'll be, I guess you can rent it on Netflix and places like that too. But if you're around here, go to Denver and see it, or New York or LA. But
it'll be available on Netflix on April 21st on Vimeo on demand. I'm sorry, not Netflix, but Vimeo on demand. You can get it there. I don't know when it'll be on Netflix. We haven't done that deal yet, but hopefully it'll be out there soon. Now,
the look and the feel of your films, there's a certain thing of, like, one, I guess it's frame by frame, but one frame will be a little bit darker, and it will shift a little bit back and forth. So it feels like almost flickering in an old-fashioned way. That's intentional, I assume. That is your style?
Yeah, it gives it a feeling of breathing, of life. It's basically two drawings alternated every 3 frames, and it gives it a sense that the characters are alive. And it's a very cheap and tawdry way to do animation when I don't have a staff of animators to help me make all these drawings.
And I'm still trying to wrap my mind about finishing a 40... I mean, some filmmakers can't make a live-action human thing in a year.
Yes.
And you do 40,000 drawings. So have you... I haven't done the math, but 40,000 divided by 360 is what? Do you have to...
About 100 a day, 100 drawings a day, something like that.
Gewalt. And in between, you're also making little short movies, too.
Yes, I do that. The short movies they take about a month, so I can do those pretty quickly.
Wow.
Then I'm doing commercials, and I've done some Simpsons couch gags. I've done some...
I wanted to ask you about that, actually, about the Simpsons. Simpsons has been on for 20-something years now.
Yes.
How the hell do you think of a gag now that hasn't been done to open the show, where the family's scrambling around and winds up on the couch in a weird way? How did you come up with new stuff?
Well, the basic humor of The Simpsons is verbal. My sense of humor is visual. So it's pretty easy. They haven't done a lot of visual gags. So I'm pretty free to do a lot of visual humor on The Simpsons without using one of their own gags.
And they give you carte blanche. It's not like Al Simon. Well,
they do. They give you carte blanche. They don't even ask to see the storyboard. They say just do what you want and send it to us.
Nice.
Great.
And you've done pretty much once a year the past 3 years, right?
Yeah, I've done 3 of them. It's very good. You've done your math.
Well, no, I've never done meth. I've done heroin a couple of times, but not meth. Oh, you said math. Sorry, I'm a little deaf in one ear. My apologies. So, people who look up to you as an animator, as a creator, as a brilliant person there, they might be happy to know that it isn't always perfect what you do. As a matter of fact, your first film that you started to try to do in high school, something came out wrong with it. Right?
Yes, it was shot upside down, so it's basically useless, unless I could take a projector and put the projector upside down, which is very impractical. So yeah, I had some bad luck early in my career, but the first film I actually finished was in 1987, and that was called Your Face.
Oh, yes.
That was a huge success. It was nominated for an Oscar. It went to Cannes, and it was bought by MTV. And I was very fortunate to have that first film to be such a success.
Oh, that was huge. And I remember way back when, because, American television, especially when they only had 3 or 4 channels, they weren't showing short live action or animated movies.
No.
Unless it was like Channel 13 showing things from, where was it? It was not Czechoslovakia. There used to be the capital of animation. Where the hell was it? It was...
Zagreb, Yugoslavia.
Zagreb! They used to show winners of a Zagreb contest in short filmmaking. And there was claymation, and it was the first time I was ever exposed to anything like that.
Wow, wow.
And suddenly on MTV, there's Your Face, with the man's head. Now,
the man's head.
Your friend sang the song for that. Whose idea was it to slow the speed of the song down so that it's really weird?
That was mine because I had no money to hire a male singer, and Maureen was working on the film anyway. She wrote the song, so I said, "Why don't you just sing it at a regular time, and we'll slow it down?" And it gave it that vibrato effect that made it sound like it was an old 30s crooner, and people thought it was a real 30s Tin Pan Alley song. So it was very successful.
Yeah, and still, the film holds up. I just saw it again the other day in preparation for this, and it totally holds up. And was just the idea came to you, wow, as an animator, let me take a human head and see how many times I can reconstitute it?
Well, I was doodling, and I drew someone's head, and I drew it as a knot. He tied himself into a knot. And I thought, oh, that's kind of humorous. What if I did some other things with the head? And that's where the whole idea for the film came from.
Now, that's pure you. How do you take the stuff that you do when you're hired for a commercial and put it to their needs without feeling constrained?
Well, the good thing about commercials is that they pretty much direct and storyboard the film before I get it. So all they have to do is follow their lead, which makes it very easy because I can draw in my style. I just have to draw their characters. So I have no problem with that. The money's great. It's shown all over the country all the time. And, it's quick. I can do it in a couple weeks.
Now, but here's the thing that I'm sure a lot of people listening would think. They would think, oh, I get it. He does his own movies, he does his short films, they're lost leaders, he takes them as tax deductions, and then he makes his real money doing the commercials, and that kind of funds everything else. But no, you kind of make sure that the movies that you make, be they short or long, at least more than break even. How do you do this?
Yeah, that's a popular misconception that the only usefulness for a short film is to put it on your reel and get a 3-picture deal in Hollywood. And that really pisses me off because short films are beautiful art. It's a beautiful art form. That you can tell great stories in 3 or 4 minutes. You can make people laugh. You can make people cry. And to abuse a short film format like that really angers me. I've done maybe 50 to 60 more than that, 75 short films. And they're very popular all over the world. And we make a lot of money on the short films. But the secret is to make the films funny.
Well, you have the three. Your dogma is what? It's cheap, funny. What was the other one? Short.
Cheap, funny, short, cheap, and funny.
Short, cheap, and funny, and that's how. Yeah. But let's say that a person comes out and they be it live action or whatever, they have a short movie. The thinking is, okay, I've got this film, I can put it on YouTube, but nobody pays for it. I can send it out to festivals, but you're paying to enter festivals and then to physically go. So where the hell does the money come from?
It comes from TV, a lot of TV screenings. I did a film called Footprints that played in the Oscar Shorts program. I got paid pretty well for that. I got paid for a lot of internet usage showings. So, the internet has become more and more a profitable venture. If your film gets a lot of hits, you can make a lot of money on it. But that's the secret, is to get a lot of hits. And how to get a lot of hits, make something that people want to see, and that's usually humor.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, as you said, keep it cheap. I think somewhere you mentioned that your short films, at least, generally cost about $1,000 a minute to make. Yes. So if you make a 4-minute movie, it's $4,000, and you just have to recoup that, and then you're basically settled.
Yep, you're starting to make a profit.
And the $4,000, I guess most of it goes to your colorists.
Exactly, or the sound person, or the music person, or the editor. It depends on, each film has a different cost.
do you try to use musicians that you know, or music that you have to license and pay ASCAP and buy and all that?
Yeah, I try and stay away from that. I have a group of musicians that work for me for a very good price because they know the film will get seen by a lot of people. So I can usually count on them to do something for me for, a very good price. Nice.
Now, about the content of what you do. By the way, we're talking with Bill Plympton, the animator here on Dave's Gone By. And when it comes to when you first started cartoons, it was that nexus when Disney was having its resurgence and cartoons were coming back to TV. But even so, back then it was a little easier to shock people. I mean, maybe people were shocked, but with humor. By Monty Python a little bit, by the Groove Tube, and maybe some stuff that Ralph Bakshi was doing. But really, in the mainstream, you didn't have South Park, you didn't have Family Guy. You know, is it harder now to be shocky funny?
Well, I try to get away from being shocking because that's really not where my audience is. I just like to make people laugh, and Cheatin makes people laugh, but also it tells a story of romance and companionship and jealousy and basically the 7 deadly sins. And so the shocking, I used to do shocking films. I mean, I've done some in the 90s I did some films that were very outrageous. But I find that the films that tell stories are much more successful. And so that's what I'm trying to do now.
Well, I'm kind of curious. What are your favorite movies of all time, animated or not?
I'd like to stay with animation. I think Yellow Submarine is one of my favorites. Dumbo.
Oh, Dumbo.
Film from Japan called Mind Game is really one of I think it's a Citizen Kane of animation. It's really a genius film.
Mind Game? Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's Japanese. It never got distribution in the U.S. simply because it's not your typical anime film. Okay. And that's why it's so good. It doesn't have the big-eyed girls and the monsters and the robots and things like that. It's really it's a very special Japanese film. Okay.
I remember Siskel and Ebert raving about something like My Friend Totoro. That was a big deal like 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, I don't like those films so much. I mean, they're well made and they have a nice charm to them, but they're too much, again, kiddie films for my taste.
Ah, fair enough.
I mean, everybody loves Miyazaki, thinks he's a god, but, I prefer other directors. Marv Newland is one of my favorite guys. He's really good. Joanna Quinn is fantastic. These are filmmakers whose films I really look forward to seeing.
Now, we haven't really mentioned that before you were doing the movies, you were doing cartooning, per se, as regular on paper in newspapers. You had a cartoon strip for a few years. Why did you stop doing that?
Well, that was never very successful, quite frankly, and I always wanted to be in animation. I really didn't want to be an editorial or a political cartoonist. So I was only in about 20 newspapers. Actually, I think I was in the Denver Post for a while.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
But so I was happy to leave that behind and leave illustration behind and get into animation, which actually was pretty fortuitous because right now newspapers are having a very difficult time, and magazines too are paying very little money for illustration. So I only have time for one more question.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that there was going to be so short. Well, what do you expect when you go to see a movie that isn't your own, an animated film from somebody else? What do you hope for and expect?
Well, the first thing I enjoy is good humor. I prefer good drawing, good draftsmanship, good storytelling, a great ending. I love a great ending. It doesn't have to be romantic, but romance is fine. I like romance. I like action. I don't like people just sitting around talking. So those are the main things that I like.
Well, it has been fun sitting around talking with Bill Plympton. Everyone first go to Plymptoons, his website, Plymptoons, Plymptons, Plymptons.com, to learn about him, to see some of his short work, and also find out where you can see his films, including Cheatin, which is coming to Denver April 22nd. You will be there, and you promised if we come up and shake your hand after the movie, you'll give us a little drawing, which I think is lovely.
Yes, I will do that. Also, you can check on CheatinMovie.com, and that's without a G, Cheatin Movie, and that's where you'll find out more details about my tour and find out exactly where it's playing in Denver. I don't remember where it's playing in Denver, but it'll be on CheatinMovie.com.
CheatinMovie.com. Thank you, Mr. Plympton. I know you have to go. Thank you for drawing on your well of brilliance with us here in the neighborhood.
Thank you so much.
Shalom.
Shalom.